Rancher lived alone for years, until 7 beautiful Apache women knocked on his door at dusk. The desert planet of Red Mesa was quiet most of the year. Wind moved across the wide land like a slow river. Dust rolled over empty hills, and the twin suns burned bright during the day before sinking into a long orange dusk. Far from the main space routes, far from busy colony cities, a single ranch stood alone. The rancher who lived there had chosen that life on purpose. His name was Daniel Cross. For years, he had not shared his land with anyone. He raised long-horned desert cattle that could survive on dry grass and mineral water. He repaired broken fences made of alloy steel. He checked solar panels every morning and cleaned sand from the filters every evening. His days followed the same simple pattern: wake up before sunrise, feed the herd, repair what the wind damaged, eat alone, watch the sky turn gold. Daniel had once lived among people. He had once worn a frontier scout badge for the colony council. But a border conflict between mining corporations had turned peaceful settlements into battle zones. He had lost friends. He had lost trust. After that, he left the crowded colonies and bought this forgotten stretch of land on Red Mesa. Out here, no one argued, no one lied. The desert was honest. That evening began like any other. The suns were sinking low, painting the horizon in deep orange and purple. Daniel was tightening a loose fence post when his old perimeter sensor gave a soft beep. He frowned. No one visited Red Mesa without a reason. He wiped his hands and walked toward the control panel near his porch. A small screen flickered. 7 life signs appeared on the edge of his property line. 7. They were moving slowly, not like raiders or traders, not in a rush, calm, steady. Daniel stepped off the porch and narrowed his eyes toward the distant ridge. At first, he saw only shadows against the glowing sky. Then shapes formed. Riders. 7 figures rode across the desert on sleek desert mounts, genetically engineered animals built for speed and endurance. Their movement was smooth and balanced, like they were part of the land itself. As they came closer, Daniel noticed their clothing. It carried the patterns of Apache heritage, beaded designs, woven sashes, but combined with modern protective fabric and light armor plating. Thin bands of technology glowed faintly at their wrists. They were not ordinary travelers. The group stopped about 20 steps from the ranch house. Dust settled around them. The air felt still. The one in front slowly dismounted. She stood tall, calm, and strong. Her dark hair was braided neatly, and her expression held neither fear nor threat. "Rancher," she said in a steady voice, "we ask for shelter." Daniel did not move closer. "Shelter from what?" "From hunters," she answered simply. "They follow us, they are not far." The other 6 women remained mounted but alert, not aggressive, watchful. Daniel studied them carefully. He saw exhaustion in their eyes but also discipline. These were not helpless wanderers. These were trained warriors. "I don't take sides," Daniel said. "This is private land." The leader nodded. "We understand. We will not bring harm to your home. We only ask for one night. By sunrise, we will move." The wind picked up slightly, carrying distant vibrations. Daniel felt it more than heard it, machines moving somewhere beyond the hills. He looked back at his ranch. The house was old but strong. The fences were reinforced. The land had been quiet for years. He had promised himself he would never again step into someone else's conflict. But 7 people stood in front of him at dusk, asking for help with respect, not force. Daniel let out a slow breath. "You stable your mounts behind the south fence," he said. "Water tank is full, no fires outside." The leader gave a small nod. "Thank you." The women moved quickly but without panic. 2 led the mounts toward the fence. One scanned the horizon with a small device from her belt. Another helped unload small packs. Daniel noticed how organized they were. No loud talking, no wasted motion. Inside the ranch house, he placed extra water containers on the table. He had not had guests in years. The room felt different already. Moments later, the 7 Apache women stepped inside. They removed dust-covered outer cloaks but kept light armor underneath. "I am Iana," the leader said. "We travel together as one family." Daniel gave a short nod. "Daniel." The room fell quiet for a moment. Then one of the women noticed a flicker in the ceiling lights. "Your power grid is unstable," she said gently. "It manages," Daniel replied. She walked toward the back control panel. "May I?" Daniel hesitated but stepped aside. Her fingers moved quickly across the interface. She adjusted frequency flow and cleaned a sand-clogged vent in seconds. The lights steadied, glowing brighter than before. Daniel blinked. Been meaning to fix that, she smiled slightly. Sand builds slowly, you get used to it. Another woman unpacked dried food from her bag and added spices to Daniel's simple stew pot. The smell changed almost instantly, richer, warmer. The house, which had felt empty for so long, now felt alive with quiet activity. Daniel stood near the doorway, unsure what to do with his hands. He was used to silence, used to the sound of wind and cattle. Outside, one of the women entered quickly. Movement on the west ridge, she reported calmly. Yana turned to Daniel. They are closer than we hoped. Daniel walked to the window and activated his long-range scope. Tiny lights flickered across the far horizon. Drones, corporate design, smooth and cold. How many? He asked. Scouts only, Yana said. Testing. Daniel lowered the scope. You didn't tell me who hunts you. Yana met his gaze steadily. Because it is not your burden. It became my burden when they stepped on my land, Daniel replied quietly. Silence filled the room again. Finally, Ayana reached into her pack and removed a small wrapped object. She did not open it fully, but a soft blue glow slipped through the fabric. They seek this, she said. It carries knowledge from our ancestors. It can restore dying soil. Heal damaged ecosystems. Many want it for profit. We protect it for balance. Daniel looked at the faint glow. He had spent years fighting the desert, trying to keep his land alive. He understood what dying soil meant. The house trembled slightly as a drone passed high overhead. One of the women stepped outside and activated a small jammer device. The drone's signal flickered and moved away. Daniel felt something shift inside him. For years, he had avoided responsibility beyond his fences. But now, responsibility had arrived at his door at dusk. You said sunrise, he said slowly. That won't be enough. Yana studied him carefully. You owe us nothing. Daniel looked around his ranch house, the repaired lights, the warm stew, the steady voices. Maybe not, he said, but I owe this land. He walked to the storage wall and pulled down an old case covered in dust. Inside lay a Frontier Scout communicator and tactical map device. The women watched quietly as he powered it on. The screen flickered to life. Daniel looked up at them, no longer just a silent rancher. They won't take what you protect, he said. Not while they're standing on my soil. Outside, the desert darkened fully. The twin suns disappeared beyond the horizon, leaving deep blue twilight. In the distance, more lights appeared. The hunters were coming closer. But for the first time in many years, Daniel Cross did not feel alone watching the night arrive. Night settled over Red Mesa like a quiet blanket, but the ranch no longer felt silent. Soft voices moved through the house, and faint lights glowed from scanning devices placed near the windows. Outside, the desert wind carried dust across the land, hiding shapes in shadow. Daniel stood near the main table, watching the tactical map flicker. The old Frontier Scout system still worked, though slowly. Yana and two of the Apache women stood beside him, studying the terrain. They are spreading, Daniel said, pointing at small red markers on the map. Not attacking yet, they are learning the area. They test your defenses, Yana replied calmly. Daniel gave a short nod. Corporate hunters don't rush unless they're desperate. One of the women, Tala, adjusted the scanning range. 3 drones circling wide, 1 ground vehicle moving slowly along the ridge. Daniel leaned back slightly. He had seen this kind of strategy before, slow pressure. No sudden moves, make the target nervous, force mistakes. They think we will run, he said quietly. Yana's eyes remained steady. We do not run without purpose. The room fell into focused silence as they prepared. Outside, 2 women reinforced the ranch perimeter using small energy emitters. They placed them along the fence line, blending modern technology with the natural shape of the land. The emitters created soft vibration waves that would confuse incoming scanners without harming anyone. Daniel watched through the window. You work fast. We learn to adapt, Tala said gently. Our people travel across many worlds. Survival means listening to the land. Daniel looked toward the dark desert. He had spent years learning Red Mesa alone. Seeing others understand it so quickly felt strange, but also right. Later, they sat together to eat. The stew simmered slowly, filling the room with warmth. Daniel noticed how the women shared tasks without needing instructions. One poured water, another checked equipment. A third stood quietly near the door, keeping watch. You live alone by choice? One of them asked. Daniel nodded. Less trouble that way. Or less pain? She asked softly. Daniel did not answer immediately. He stared at his bowl for a moment before speaking. Sometimes both. Iana studied him carefully but did not push further. She understood silence could hold meaning. Outside, a drone passed again, lower this time. The house lights dimmed briefly as the jammer activated. The sound faded quickly. They grow impatient, Tala said. Daniel stood up. Then we make them wait longer. He led them outside. The cold desert air brushed against their faces as they moved toward the south fence. The stars shone bright overhead, clear and endless. Daniel pointed toward a narrow canyon in the distance. If they push forward, they'll use that path. It looks easy, but it's unstable. Sand collapses under heavy machines. Yana smiled slightly. You know your land well. It kept me alive, Daniel replied. Together they placed small markers along the canyon entrance. The Apache women added energy nets that would slow vehicles without causing damage. Every movement showed respect for balance rather than destruction. As they worked, Daniel noticed something changing inside him. For years, he had repaired fences alone, spoken to no one, eaten in silence. Now voices surrounded him. Purpose filled the air. One of the women laughed softly when a desert creature darted across the sand. The sound surprised him. Laughter had been rare here. Back inside the house, Iana finally revealed more about their journey. The artifact we carry holds ancient knowledge, she said. Our ancestors created it when the first worlds began to suffer. It teaches how to restore life where greed has taken too much. Daniel nodded slowly. And corporations want to control that. Yes, she said. They believe healing should be owned. Daniel's jaw tightened. He had seen companies drain planets before moving on, leaving nothing behind. Not while I'm here, he said quietly. The artifact rested on the table between them, wrapped carefully. Its faint blue glow pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Daniel felt warmth near it, like standing in sunlight. One of the younger women reached out toward it but stopped just before touching. It reacts to emotion, she explained. To trust. Daniel watched the glow shift slightly as the group gathered around. Suddenly, the perimeter alarm beeped sharply. Everyone moved at once. Tala checked the screen. Ground scouts approaching the north fence. Daniel grabbed his old scanner and stepped outside with Ayana beside him. The night wind carried faint engine sounds. Two small vehicles appeared near the fence line, their lights scanning slowly across the land. They stopped just outside the property boundary. They hesitate, Daniel whispered. They expect resistance, Ayana replied. One of the vehicles launched a small probe drone. It floated toward the ranch, scanning structures. Yana nodded toward one of her companions. She activated a signal pulse. The drone's light flickered and drifted sideways, confused by the jammer waves. Daniel smiled slightly. Nice trick. We prefer to avoid harm when possible, she said. The vehicles remained still for a long time before slowly backing away, testing complete. They will return stronger, Tala said as they regrouped inside. Daniel sat heavily in his chair. Then we prepare stronger. The hours passed quietly but with constant motion. Repairs continued. Defense plans adjusted. The ranch slowly transformed from a lonely home into a coordinated stronghold. At one point, Ayana stepped outside alone. Daniel followed, standing beside her as they watched the horizon. You could still walk away, she said softly, before they bring more forces. Daniel shook his head. I walked away from too many things already. She nodded slowly, understanding more than he said. Why help us? She asked. Daniel looked at the land stretching endlessly before them. Because someone should stand when others don't. The wind moved between them, carrying dust and stars. As midnight approached, faint green light appeared around parts of the ranch where the artifact rested inside. Small plants near the porch seemed stronger, their leaves lifting slightly as if responding to hidden energy. Tala noticed first. The artifact is reacting to this place. Daniel stared at the ground. This soil has struggled for years. Perhaps it feels safe here, Ayana said. The idea filled Daniel with quiet wonder, but peace did not last long. A distant rumble echoed across the desert, heavier engines this time. More lights appeared beyond the hills, moving in formation. The hunters were returning, no longer testing but preparing. Inside the ranch house, everyone gathered near the map screen. Red markers multiplied slowly. Daniel felt tension rise but also clarity. He was no longer alone against the night. He looked at Ayana and the 6 Apache women standing beside him. Looks like sunrise will come faster than expected, he said. Yana's eyes shone with calm determination. Then we meet it together. Outside, the desert wind grew stronger, carrying the promise of change as the ranch prepared for whatever would come next. The night deepened over Red Mesa, and the desert sky filled with cold, bright stars. The ranch stood quiet on the outside, but inside, preparation never stopped. The map table glowed softly as red signals slowly moved closer across the screen. The hunters were no longer hiding their approach. Daniel stood with his arms crossed, watching carefully. Years ago, he had studied enemy movements during his time as a frontier scout, and he recognized the pattern immediately. "They are surrounding, not rushing," he said. "They want us tired before they move in." Yana nodded. "They expect fear to weaken us." Daniel looked at the 7 Apache women around him. None of them looked afraid. Calm focus filled the room instead. Outside, the wind picked up, pushing sand against the walls. Tala adjusted the perimeter sensors, extending their range. Another woman, Kaya, reinforced the energy emitters along the fence line. The ranch slowly transformed into something stronger, not a fortress built for war, but a place prepared to protect. Daniel stepped onto the porch and breathed in the cool air. The horizon flickered with distant lights moving slowly closer. He felt the old tension rising inside him, memories of past battles pressing against his thoughts. For years he had avoided this feeling, choosing quiet over conflict. Now there was no avoiding it. Yana joined him outside. "You carry heavy memories," she said gently. Daniel gave a small shrug. "Everyone out here does." She watched the desert with him. "Our people say courage is not the absence of fear. It is choosing purpose even when fear is present." Daniel glanced at her. "Sounds right." Behind them, laughter suddenly broke the tension. One of the younger women had managed to repair an old ranch drone, and it hovered clumsily before bumping into a fence post. The group chuckled softly. Daniel found himself smiling without realizing it. That simple sound changed something inside him. For years, the ranch had only heard the wind. Inside the house, the artifact rested on the main table. Its blue glow pulsed more strongly now, brighter than before. Thin waves of light spread gently across the floor. Kaya stepped closer, watching with curiosity. "It responds to connection," she said. "Not just to us, but to this place." Daniel noticed something outside through the window. Small desert plants near the porch seemed greener than usual. Leaves lifted toward the sky as if waking from long sleep. "Never seen them grow that fast," he murmured. Yana joined him at the window. "Healing begins quietly." The calm moment ended when the alarm sounded sharply. Everyone moved at once. Tala checked the display. Multiple ground vehicles approaching from the North Canyon, drones above them. Daniel grabbed his old scout jacket from the wall. "They found the path we predicted." The group stepped outside together. The desert stretched wide and dark before them, broken only by moving lights approaching steadily. Yana raised her hand. "We hold position, no unnecessary harm." Each woman took her place. Energy emitters hummed softly along the fence line, invisible but powerful. Daniel activated his tactical map, projecting a glowing outline across the ground. The first drone crossed into range. Kaya triggered the signal jammer. The drone wobbled, its sensors scrambling. It drifted sideways and hovered without direction. "Good," Daniel said quietly. "Confuse them first." The ground vehicles moved closer, slowing as they encountered unstable sand. One attempted to push forward but sank slightly, forced to reverse. "They don't know this land," Daniel said. "That's our advantage." The hunters launched another drone, this one stronger. It hovered higher, scanning with bright beams. Yana stepped forward and activated a small device. A pulse of energy spread outward, bending the scanning light and hiding the ranch structures beneath false signals. The drone paused, uncertain. For a moment, silence returned. Then a voice echoed through an amplified speaker from one of the vehicles. "Rancher," the voice called. "You are interfering with corporate property retrieval. Stand down and no harm will come to your home." Daniel exchanged a glance with Ayana. He stepped forward slightly, speaking calmly. "This is private land. You're trespassing." The voice paused. "You do not understand what you protect." Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe you don't understand where you are." The vehicles hesitated, clearly unsure how to proceed without clear data. Minutes passed slowly. The standoff stretched across the desert. Inside the ranch, the artifact began to glow brighter, reacting to the rising tension. Soft waves spread through the soil. Small cracks in the dry ground filled with faint green light. Kaya noticed first. It's awakening. Iana watched carefully. It senses imbalance. Outside, the hunters launched a small group of walking drones attempting to cross the fence on foot. As they stepped into the energy field, their movement slowed, systems confused but not damaged. Daniel activated a remote trigger. Hidden sand traps collapsed slightly, creating uneven ground. The drones struggled to maintain balance. "No need to destroy," he said quietly. "Just delay." The Apache women worked together smoothly, each supporting the other without needing words. One redirected signal waves, another monitored environmental shifts. Their unity felt natural, strong. Suddenly, a stronger engine roar echoed from the distance. Everyone turned toward the horizon. A larger vehicle approached, heavy and powerful, its lights cutting through the dark like sharp blades. "They escalate," Tala said. Daniel felt tension tighten in his chest. This was no longer a test. They were ready to push through. Yana stepped beside him. "We stand together." The heavy vehicle stopped just outside the canyon entrance. Its systems scanned the environment aggressively, attempting to override the jammers. The artifact inside the house pulsed faster, reacting strongly. Blue light spilled through the windows. Wind rushed across the land, carrying energy waves that made the sand shimmer. Daniel felt something strange, not fear, but clarity. The ranch, the women, the artifact, all connected in that moment. "Let them see strength," he said quietly. Together they activated a coordinated defense. Energy nets flickered, redirecting scanning beams. Sand shifted under the heavy vehicle's weight, forcing it to slow. The hunters hesitated again, unsure how to advance without risking damage to their own machines. Time stretched as both sides waited. Finally, the vehicles began to pull back slowly, retreating to reassess. Relief moved through the group, but no one relaxed completely. "They will return stronger," Yana said. Daniel nodded. "Then we'll be stronger too." As the vehicles disappeared into the distance, the desert grew quiet again. The artifact's glow softened, but the land around the ranch looked subtly changed, greener, alive. Daniel stood under the stars, breathing slowly. For years, he had hidden from conflict. Now he stood in the middle of it again, but this time he was not alone. And somewhere deep inside, he felt something he had not felt in a long time, hope. Dawn slowly approached Red Mesa, but the sky did not brighten in a normal way. Soft blue light spread across the ranch before the suns even touched the horizon. The artifact inside the house glowed steadily, no longer flickering, no longer uncertain. It felt awake. Daniel stood on the porch, watching the desert carefully. The wind had changed direction during the night. It moved in slow circles now, as if the land itself was breathing. Behind him, Ayana and the 6 Apache women gathered quietly. None of them looked tired. They looked ready. Tala studied the horizon through a scanning lens. "They regrouped during the night," she said. "Larger force coming from the East Ridge, heavier machines." Daniel nodded slowly. "They won't test again, they'll push straight through." Yana stepped beside him. "Then this is the moment." Inside the ranch house, the artifact rested on the table, uncovered now. Its surface shimmered like living water. Blue light moved inside it in slow waves. The energy felt warm, not dangerous. Kaya placed her hand near it without touching. "It is responding to the land," she said softly. "The soil is beginning to heal." Daniel looked at the ground near the porch. Tiny green shoots were visible in places where nothing had grown for years. The dry cracks in the earth seemed less harsh. He took a deep breath. "If they break through today," he said quietly, "they'll take more than an object. They'll take the future of this place." Iana looked at him steadily. "Then we protect both." A low rumble echoed across the desert. Engines, many of them. The horizon lit up with rows of moving vehicles and hovering support drones. This was no longer a small retrieval group. It was a full operation. Daniel felt his heartbeat slow instead of quicken. Years ago in the frontier forces, he had learned that panic clouds judgment. Calm keeps you alive. He turned to the group. "We hold the canyon entrance. We use the land. We don't chase. We defend." Each woman nodded, no fear. "Only focus." They moved quickly into position. Energy emitters along the fence line powered up fully. The small jammer towers vibrated softly, spreading protective waves outward. Inside the house, Kaya and one other remained near the artifact. They prepared to activate it fully if needed. The first line of corporate vehicles rolled into view. Their metal surfaces reflected the rising light of the suns. Drones hovered overhead, scanning aggressively. A loudspeaker voice echoed again. "Rancher." This is your final warning. Step aside. Daniel stepped forward just enough to be seen, but not enough to be exposed. This land is not yours, he replied calmly. The engines grew louder. Without further warning, the first heavy vehicle advanced into the canyon path. Immediately, the sand shifted under its weight. The unstable ground slowed it, forcing it to reduce speed. Smaller support vehicles attempted to spread out, but hidden energy nets distorted their guidance systems. The Apache women worked as one. Tala redirected signal interference. Yana triggered controlled sandslides that blocked narrow paths. Kaya monitored the artifacts, rising energy from inside. The drones descended lower, trying to override the jammers. One nearly broke through, but Daniel activated an old frontier defense pulse from his scout device. The pulse disrupted the drone's navigation just long enough for it to retreat. The heavy vehicle pushed forward again, determined. Inside the house, the artifact's glow intensified. Blue light spilled out through the windows, flowing across the porch and into the soil like gentle water. Kaya closed her eyes briefly. "It is ready," she whispered. Outside, the ground beneath the advancing machines began to change. Fine cracks in the earth filled with green light. Small plants grew rapidly, their roots weaving through the sand, strengthening it in some places and softening it in others. The environment was shifting. The heavy vehicle slowed again, confused by sudden terrain changes. Its wheels spun without full grip. Support vehicles attempted to maneuver around it, but encountered new patches of dense vegetation where there had been only dust. Daniel watched carefully. "The land is choosing," he said quietly. Yana nodded. "It protects balance." The corporate voice returned over the speaker, this time sharper. "You are causing environmental instability. Stand down immediately." Daniel almost laughed. "You've caused instability for years." The artifact's energy expanded further. A soft wave of light moved outward across the ranch boundary. The sand shimmered as moisture rose from deep below the surface. Thin grass patches appeared in lines following the energy flow. The hunters' machines struggled more with each step. Sensors malfunctioned. Navigation systems gave conflicting data. But still, one final heavy machine attempted to force its way forward. Iana stepped closer to Daniel. "We cannot let them cross the inner line." Daniel nodded once. "Then we end this." Inside, Kaya placed both hands near the artifact. The other woman joined her. Together they focused calmly. The artifact released a controlled burst of energy, not violent but powerful. Blue light shot upward into the sky before spreading outward like a wide shield. The ground between the ranch and the advancing machines shifted dramatically. Thick plant growth rose quickly, not tall trees, but dense-rooted vegetation strong enough to block heavy movement. Sand hardened beneath the ranch while softening outside the natural boundary. The heavy machine stopped completely, unable to move forward without damaging itself. For a long moment, nothing moved. Wind rushed through the new green patches, carrying the scent of fresh earth. The once barren land around the ranch looked alive. The corporate vehicles slowly powered down their engines. Drones pulled back to safer distance. The loudspeaker returned, but the tone had changed. "This operation is suspended. We will reassess." Daniel watched as the machines began to retreat. Slowly, one by one, they disappeared beyond the ridge. Silence returned to Red Mesa, but it was not the same silence as before. The ranch stood surrounded by new life. Soft green growth covered parts of the land. The air felt cleaner, lighter. The artifact's glow gradually softened to a steady pulse. Kaya stepped outside, smiling gently. The land accepted the healing. Daniel walked a few steps forward, kneeling to touch the soil. It felt stronger, cool with new moisture. He stood and looked at Ayana. "You could stay," he said quietly. "This place could become a safe ground." Ayana looked at the horizon. "We are travelers, but some of us may remain for a time. Healing takes patience." The younger women smiled at the thought. As the twin suns rose fully into the sky, their light touched the newly green patches, making them shine softly. Daniel stood in the center of his ranch, no longer a lonely man guarding empty land. He had chosen to stand again, and in doing so, he had found connection. Yana walked beside him. "You were alone for many years," she said. Daniel nodded. "Do you regret opening the door?" He looked at the growing land, at the 7 strong women who had arrived at dusk, and at the peaceful horizon where danger had retreated. "No," he said simply. "Some knocks are meant to be answered." The wind moved gently across Red Mesa, carrying seeds into the air, spreading life where there had once been only dust.